Hello, welcome to another episode of the Town End. A disappointing result and a sad trip back up the M1 tonight. We're brought to you as always by Dundalk Village, our main sponsor in association with Tony's Pizzeria and Player Fit. Joining me to discuss the game is Gally. How's it going, Gally?
Evening. Oh, where do we start?
This is going to be a fun one. I know we're bringing a Drog on as a guest too.
Yeah, it's just as well. It's just the two of us at the start. That was yeah. Look, even if you're listening to that game, never mind watching it. It's one of them. You just know that they've just had. They've had one of them nights at the office, haven't they? It's just. I mean, I said it to you off air. I had the second half on mute, on the laptop. It was just. They just never got. I always say it. I always say when we had a bad game, we never got going. It's not that we never got going. Just Drogheda seemed to just soak anything we had. They just seemed to soak it up and were willing to deal with it. And just it was counter attack. They hit us in the break from the world goal. The first half. I mean, no matter who you're playing against, if you go down 1-0 in less than a minute, that's your uphill battle straight away. And I just think we can talk about Start and Nelvy. It's a dodgy clearance from Andy Boyle. It kind of falls to the striker very easily. There's nobody really close to him. You're probably not expecting him to get on it like that, to latch on to the first time. You're probably thinking he takes a touch and drops it out to the box. But I don't know what you thought, but for me, they just went at us early doors in the first minute, hit us on the break. Probably weren't just expecting us, and they just caught us cold, muscles cold. I don't know, just a bit of a Nelvy minute. And look, that's what costs the game at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna do a man of the match tonight, but instead we'll do the best description of the game. So send in your descriptions of that game, and we'll pick our favourite. Flano was just asking there, how bad was it? I think we'll talk a little bit about the performance, but it was one of those where I think if we were there for another 90 minutes tonight, I don't think we were going to score.
No.
And I think that one statement probably sums the match up. As you say, Gally, that opening goal, even before it gets to Boiler, and Boiler could definitely do a lot better with the clearance, but it seemed like they just went through us. And I watched it back about 3 or 4 times on Twitter, on the league Twitter page, and they went through us like hot knife through butter, didn't they? Like, it just seemed like everybody was standing watching. And it's one of those things, it seems like certain episodes, especially when we lose, myself and yourself try talk as coaches. And it's one of them where if you see the under-12s doing that and having a team run through you like that, you go apeshit, and
especially in the first minute.
Exactly.
Like, you just have that. You're after doing your crack and warm up. You've had your team talk, and look, it can happen. In games like that, it can happen. But when that's what's the difference over a 90-minute game. Like, there's 94 and a half minutes after that. When you've been caught like that. I mean, the flip side of it is you're caught like that maybe in the 94th minute, but to be caught like that after, I think we're talking 54, 53 seconds, something like that. And look, it can happen anyone. I get it, but you'd fully expect at that early goal, it can nearly be beneficial because it kickstarts the match. Maybe that's what it needs. But it just didn't work for us tonight. It just didn't. It done us no favors. Look, we've had the ball. We've had the ball, but people talk about possession of football. I said it here before. Possession counts for nothing. It doesn't count for anything if you can't score. And Drogheda just soaked everything up. And we were saying just a quick chat off air. Maybe it was something I overlooked earlier on in the season against Drogheda. They're so fast on the ball. They move so quick going forward, don't they? I just thought I don't know whether we just weren't at the races, maybe at the back, but they seem to move really fast. I don't know if it's just a small pitch or just because we're under pressure all the time, so it looks like we did get the ball. We were just that hungry to get it back because we were badly stuck for a goal. But I don't know what you thought, but for me, they looked lightning quick when they had the ball.
Yeah, I think they did. I mean, going back to just after the goal, it seemed very much like that goal was a red rag to a bull. It seemed like we had so much possession after that. And, it felt to me like last week, obviously, we talked about in the match that there's so many balls came in from wide areas in the first half and didn't work out. Today, it was a little bit different. I think we were driving towards the end line and then drilling the ball across the box. And we were saying offline as well, I think a fit Pat Hooban probably scores about 2 or 3 of those chances in the first half. That just, it seemed to be on a plate for a Dundalk player just to tap one in at the far post, about 5 times in the first half after they scored. And I don't know if it's a case that, McMillan's still building up to his fitness, but if it happens 5 times, you expect either your striker or you expect someone else to get on the end of those. But how many times in that first half did we drill a ball across the goal and it went out the other side of the box to a Dundalk player? There was nobody just anticipating that ball, and it was on all day long. And it seemed to me that when I look back on that, and that was probably the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, when you look back on that, that summed up the night for me. It was missed chances. We have all this possession. We've talked all season about how good we are in possession and how well we hold on to the ball, but you have to make it count. And it just for me, I thought, and this is no disrespect to Dave McMillan, but I just thought this was a game, especially after them scoring early. I felt like if we had Hooben on in the first half, for me, I feel like we would have at least levelled it up by half time. But I think with those chances and those balls in the box, he's putting away 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, just when you mentioned it, I seen a tweet before we came on, and I think it might have been during the match. Correctly, I might be wrong. I might be giving it to Alan Mattis, the tweet. I don't know if it was him, but obviously well-known dog fan. The argument there would be, if Pat Hooben's fit, his argument is that if he's fit to come off the bench, should he be starting? Should you be playing him in a game like that, or would you risk him? You put your coach's hat on, thinking, would you? Look, we can talk about excuses after the match. Hindsight's great, but do you think because it's calling out for a player like him to be playing in that game, like you say, with the balls coming across the box and running out? They were running. I mean, I don't know how many. James Rogers might be able to give us the stats. I don't know how many crosses we had at the ball tonight, but there was nobody. And in fairness, we had them against UCD as well, and some of them didn't come off. Some did on the night from McMillan and Ward as well. But do you have to play a Pat Hooben 60-70% fit in that, or is it a thing of maybe we're too arrogant? Maybe we think, look, the game will be still tight when he comes on, and we might be winning, and we bring him on to finish it off.
Yeah, it's a hard one to call. I mean, McMillan probably done enough after UCD to justify starting him, but when you look at the quality that Hooben has and how well he's been playing this season, I mean, you probably would look to start him if he's only 60 or 70% fit, and you get a good 55, 60 minutes out of him, and then bring on a McMillan when they're tiring. I think that would have worked, but I mean, we trust Stevie. You know what I mean? He's made his call, but it just, as I was saying, I was growing more and more frustrated as the game was going on because of all these balls in the box. I was begging for someone to get on the end of them, and that was one that I think it was a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? The ball in the box by Lewis McCarry that Benson got in. It was just, it seemed like Davy Mack was probably the only one that was for those balls that were coming in across the box, but he just like to, as I say, it feels like a sour defeat, because I think it's 3 points dropped. As simple as that sounds, when you lose 3 points, but it's 3 points dropped because you have all this possession, and we didn't do anything really of any substance for me throughout the game with it. Yeah,
I think Flano's right there. Like that's exactly what's happened tonight. It's a carbon copy of what happened the last time we played them at the Head in the Game Park as well. It just seems to be, we seem to have plenty of the ball, and look, we've plenty of ball in plenty of games, but Drogheda seem to almost enjoy it. They seem to invite it on, knowing that we can hit these at the back. I'm not saying, look, I mean, you win a low derby overall, you earn your win. I mean, we can talk about possession, 75, 60, whatever you want to talk about possession-wise, but you deserve your win probably over 90 minutes if you can hang on to 1-0 lead, especially when it's a minute into the game. But Flano's right, like, I don't know if it's a nerves thing. I mean, we shouldn't have nerves. I mean, yeah, you're a bit anxious going into a low derby, but are they just under the caution from the word go? I mean, because we said it before, I said it to Steph as well, he would have played on it. To me, the pitch in Head in the Game Park is tight, so I don't know if it's a daunting thing for players to play on, especially when it's a low derby. But it just seems to be, we have all the ball, and just, it's like we're trying to walk it into the net. It just seems to be, not that they're taking too much out of it, but it's like they don't want to play anything but good football. Does that make sense? It has to be attractive, or it's just not happening.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Even towards the end of the game there, we're up against it. I think the last kick of the game was a Shepherd lumped one into the box, and I think that's the first time tonight we've seen it, where probably in that 5 minute of extra time, I mean, you put it in the mixer and hopefully he'll get something on the end of it. But it was one of them, to Drogheda's credit, they set themselves up right, they set themselves up to frustrate us, and they got that goal after a minute. I mean, we all know what they're going to do then. They're going to sit back and they're going to make it difficult and frustrate us. But it's one of them where you just want someone to be ruthless on the Dundalk team. And I suppose that's probably one of the reasons why Hubin came on, because that's something that he is. If he sees an opportunity to get a shot off, he'll take a shot off. But as you say, we're playing that attractive football. And tonight, more so than anything, I don't know if we got a shot. I don't know if anyone even attempted to take a shot from outside the box tonight.
Yeah.
No one even tested it. And, I don't remember really a save of any substance that Colin McCabe had to make in goal for Drogheda. So it's just, overall, it's a very disappointing night. I mean, for a neutral, if you're not a Dundalk fan, you're probably not listening to this. But, if you're not Dundalk or Drogheda, it was an enjoyable game, but it was just very, very, very disappointing on the night, because I feel like there was 3 points there for the taking,
Yeah, and look, and obviously, as obviously it's a Dundalk podcast. We're not here to just say that we were poor, but the draw, the air, and the wind. The man that's going to come on now in a minute, I'm sure, will back that comment. But we're not taking anything away from Drogheda. They've done exactly. I mean, Gary Deegan. I'm a massive fan of Gary Deegan, a warrior in midfield. The funny thing is, that's exactly what we could be looking for in our midfield. But we're not taking anything away from Drogheda's victory. It's frustrating when you go I keep going on with this possession stuff. Sometimes there's that plan B is needed, isn't it? Sometimes you just have to say, look, get the ball down. If it has to go over the top, it has to go over the top. Whatever it takes, a bit of bullying in midfield. Seen a comment there. I seen it on Twitter as well. Midfielders were non-existent. It's not even that they were non-existent. It just seemed they were bullied off the ball. Maybe that's just me watching. I don't know. That's open for opinion, but it just seemed the draw they weren't given an inch on what other teams have given us this season.
Yeah, and I think, in the first half especially, I think the two of our centre midfielders end up getting yellow cards as well. Yeah. And I think Andy Boyle or Mark Conley did just before half-time too. And when you do that, you have to sit back a little bit. You can't jump in. And it seemed tonight like Neil Doyle was kind of itching to get that red out. He didn't, thankfully, but I think it just made, especially those yellow cards came right on the edge of half-time. So it made it difficult, and I'd say it made it difficult for the lads on the pitch then in the second half. But look, I suppose people are probably sick of listening to me and you. We'll bring in the guest when he finishes picking his nose backstage there. Ex-Dundalk coach and legend. And we're coming up on the anniversary of when he first took charge of Dundalk Football Club 10 years ago. So it's a privilege to welcome him on again. One of my favourite guests, and I'm being nice to him because I want him to be nice to me. So we'll welcome on Darius Kierans.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Good job doing on picking your nose again.
It's big enough, isn't it? So, It is, yeah. I mean, it was disappointing. Obviously, I was listening to you commentating on it throughout, Darius, but it was one of them, wasn't it, for Dundalk? They threw it away with all the possession they had. Now, that's not taken away. Drogheda were defended very well and they held their shape very well, but Dundalk didn't probably do enough in front of goal, did they?
No, they didn't create enough. Drogheda created as much as Dundalk. But see John Connie was commenting there. It's easy. United Park is difficult. The early goal, Stevie's throwing the whole thing. The early goal kills him. And he keeps drawing a hole with it to keep the shape. It is difficult to break down. Yeah. That said, I also Drogheda looks hungry. They look like they want to go in. The ball came out in the tour, they got pressure on the team. James Clark, Darragh Markey, they were throwing them to knock over fairly easy at times. Greg Stovic, great player, but just don't know in the playing possession-based game. But I thought Drogheda was probably that side on possession and chances created. The Dolphins possession, team quality, but Drogheda said the game was not good.
Yeah. Darius, do me a quick favour. Will you try hold that mic on the headphones just a little bit close to your mic? Yeah, that's better there now. Yeah. You look like a proper reporter there with that. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it was a battle in the midfield. But before you came on there, I don't know if you got listening to it before you logged in. We were just saying you know, in the first half, after that goal went in, it was almost like a red rag to a bull, because it seemed like Dundalk just controlled the possession for about 25 minutes after that. But all the balls came in, you know, they were drilled across the box, but there was no one on the end of it, wasn't it? And that was that set the tone for what Dundalk was going to do all night, because I don't think that Colin McCabe really had a save to make, did he?
No, he didn't have any really kept across. But after like right about 20 minutes to go, he was playing he was getting caught in 6 out of 10. He was one of the best dogs in the half. And Doyle needed to get the year for the whole thing was Doyle. So I thought Mark was stepping up pressing. It was 2 centre halves and the whole midfield of Doyle shouldn't be getting out all day long. And they did that early, and Benson was coming off Keegan on one side. But Dylan needs to pump big on the cross box. I don't know. They have enough bodies in the box. Those boys, defensive midfield in the box, striking the box, opposite boys there, minimum 3 pairs, are all going to Tony McMillan, maybe Benson, Brady, boys. But defense, if you can play, those boys, you've got to get bodies in the box. And they probably didn't commit those bodies. The deliveries, like, did some great opportunities in the first half, corners, boys, big case, the delivery were off. You don't want to move the box, you want the corners, but if the delivery's not there, it's not.
Yeah, come here, Darius. We're going to log you back out now for a second, and if you can log back in without the headphones, because it's just, I think some people are finding it hard to hear you, if that's all right. Yeah. We'll log him back in a second. I can't hear you now at all, Chris.
Sorry, Chris.
Oh, Chris, Gally.
Yeah, so I didn't know if it was mine. I was trying to fiddle with the Saudi. I wouldn't have Chris' technical ability here. Yeah, I didn't actually, just when he's come on, I didn't realise it was coming up on 10 years since Darius. Talk, oh, what that was to talk about a mental thing, not to go back in time there, but that, like, to believe that jumper, that white jumper he wore. I wanted to talk about that jump, that famous one he had on the sideline, that creamy white jumper. But
yeah, well, I think we'll chat to him in a little bit about that, because you know, his first game in charge was actually against Stephen Kenny's Shamrock Rovers, and I think Stephen left Shamrock Rovers not too long after that. So
that's right.
His first game in charge, it was one of the next 2 Dundalk managers, you know, were playing. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think for those that couldn't hear, you know, Darius was just talking about how Drogheda just seemed to want it more. You know, they seemed like they were.
And to be fair, that's yeah, they probably wanted it more over the games this season. I know Flanagan was commenting it seems to be a trend when we go there, but they probably wanted it more at the 2 games this season, haven't they? Like, I know obviously when you're at home, that goes without saying for a lot of games, even in amateur football, but they seem to just have that little bit of dogged fight in them, didn't they? Look, you don't want to be taking anything away from them, and you know, obviously we want to sit here and say, oh, we played great football, we've been more of attractive football, but at the end of the day, you know, 3 points is 3 points, and we didn't get them. So that's my sound up in there. Just 1 second. Yeah. So, but you can. It's frustrating. Like, you can see the comments from people. You can see the comments on Twitter. You can see, you know, sometimes, like we were saying earlier on, sometimes football, you can play it like cows go home, attracting football, but at the end of the day, it's results like that. Like we spoke here, it's only maybe, what are we talking, 3 games ago, when we probably jumped the gun a little bit and talked about a potential title race. But I think, you know, I don't think we're going to be talking about that after tonight anyway. We'll see if we can get Darius back in. What do you think? 1 second, folks.
Can you hear me now? No, I can't
there
hear you.
There we go. Perfect.
Can't hear
you.
Can you hear us? Fuck. Hold on. Bear with me. 1 second.
What's that about? Where's Chris Clark when you need him? You're on mute, Pete. Or Dean. Unmute yourself.
The joys of live TV.
Yeah, live pod. This is why the Pound End podcast is the best. No editing, everything's live, folks. Come and join us on this journey.
Yeah,
but like, it's frustrating. Look, all games when you shouldn't lose, you shouldn't feel like you lose. You've got Shells away, draw it away. With UCD, it's one of them nights, isn't it? We're having a bit too many. I think somebody commented there very early on. Is it 2 away wins all season? Is that correct?
Yeah.
You know, that in itself speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think I might mention it. I don't know if it was last week or a couple of weeks back that, it's all well and good beating Derry City, Shamrock Rovers. They're all big nights and they're big wins. But if you want to mount the title challenge, you have to beat the teams around us. And I think we said, actually, it may have been last week or the week before when we bet Derry and then went up and bet Finn Harps. Is that the turn of the tide for us? And we're starting to beat those other teams. But it's just that's the most disappointing thing, is like that's a big win for Drogheda. It would have been a big win for us, and it should have been a big win for us. Let's try Darius now again.
Try again. Is that any better?
There we go. That's far better.
How are we?
There you go. Thanks, lads. Yes, I can hear you. Technology's not my strongest point, Pingle.
It's not always right.
No, I was about to say that was one of the best interview Q&As that I ever done, and no one could fucking hear you.
John fucking Flanagan's right. I feel like I'm in Jerry's house. Oh my God.
So what was the original question, Pinker? What were we talking about?
We were just talking about the match, and Darius was saying obviously that Drogheda seemed a little bit more up for it, didn't they?
Yeah,
they did, but a goal can give you that as well. An early goal gives you that. It can lift you. They got the disappointing result last week. So Dundalk was the last thing Dundalk needed. You get an early goal, or, Dundalk settle into the game and Droghera's in the back foot, and next minute Dundalk scored. Drogheda might have fell apart. But the goal galvanised. I mean, you have to give them credit. I thought the back four, because I was looking at the back four in the midfield, I thought Dundalk would steamroll them, to be honest. I thought without Ryan Brennan, I like Clark, he's decent, but I said to myself, Sloggett, Benson, who was the other one in with them? Sloggett, Benson, and Doyle, I said, will overrun this. And it looked after the goal for a period of time like they did. But they stopped playing and they just didn't create art and clear cut at all. Didn't get enough bodies into the box. The ball goes wide. You got to have 3 or 4. Like the striker, opposite winger, and offensive one, at least one of the offensive midfielders need to attack in the box. So there's a lot of huff and puff. But look, I do think this Dundalk team is growing as well. They look huge. They've some young players. Ryan O'Kane looked quite good. That was my first time seeing him. I like the look of him.
Yeah,
he done quite well. He come on.
Ryan came on, like I know I spoke. I thought he was going to be the next big thing in football. I know he's still young. He's about 12 at this stage. He was 11 last year, making his debut, whatever he was. But he came on last year in the pre-season games, and I thought this guy's going to, this is going to be the guy you're going to look to all season. And it just never really happened with the management structure. And Vinny came in, and it just never seemed to get a run. And in fairness, he hasn't started games this year, but Stevens, Sod's going through this thing of, blood and young players. It's, a lot of coaches are doing. And for me, there's his chance to kind of shine. And like you say, he come on tonight. I thought he was excellent for the few minutes he was on. He was the same last week as well. But I think that Ryan O'Kane, for me, is one of the best talents that we've produced. Probably, what do you think, Pinker? Probably since Tiernan.
Probably, yeah. It seems like there's a lot of hype around him, and it's good to see. Is that 3 games now in a row that he's come on?
Yeah, and that's all it is. Minutes.
Yeah, he can play. There's no doubt. That's my first time seeing him. I'd heard a lot about him, but he can definitely play. There's no doubt. I don't know Dundalk. I think they're just lacking something in midfield for me. Someone to break the line, running behind the striker. Is McMillan and Hoban are totally different. If Hoban's going to play, he holds it up. McMillan likes to play on the shoulder. I just like to see maybe John Mountney, maybe he gets right. I don't know. He seems to be playing on the right in the latter years, but someone like a Richie Towell type, someone that's going to break back lines, get into the box, score goals. But look, it was a disappointing goal to give away as well. Andy could have been better for it, poor clearance, and I felt he could have closed it down after. But he's put it away, Williams. He's put it away well, to be fair.
Yeah, we were just saying before that, Darius, that it's one of them goals, isn't it? Even before Boyle gets the touch on it, even the build up to the goal. If you're coaching Glebe North, you're going mad at the lads for letting them go through you like that, aren't you?
Yeah,
the whole build up was poor.
Easy. Very easy. 2 of them around Darragh Markey. Then it went out wide. Evan Wheels got the cross in too easy. Andy's kind of, his body shape isn't right, but he still should have cleared it to the way he was facing rather than trying to hook it out and hook it around it. And then I still thought he didn't react quick enough to close it down because Williams had an age. He didn't take a touch. He got the whole body turned and shot and got it off into the top corner. So Look at Dundalk, you can't, the commitment and effort and all of that, they kept going. Stevie, I thought, 10 out of 10, changed the system, brought on 3 subs, 10 minutes into the second half, didn't wait. You know, you can wait and wait and wait, didn't wait, didn't like what he's saying, made the changes. It affected the game again for a period. Wardy, I thought, done well, looked like he was going to create something, do something. But trying to put the next on the line, they defended so well and they looked dangerous on the break.
Just to go quickly back to the goal, as a coach, would you forgive a goal like that? Obviously, you don't forgive goals that cost you games, but you know that under a minute, is it unforgivable, or is it just look at? We started poorly.
They all make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. It was a poor clearance. I'd say Andy Boyle hold his hand up. Sorry, lads, I made a mistake. But you can almost, he's experienced enough and old enough. It didn't really affect his game after that. He done okay. Williams looked to threat on the shoulder of the two of them. He's quick, Ian Williams, and he plays in between them with the lines. And you dog kind of play a high line sometimes. And he nearly get in once or twice as well. But Andy's done okay after that. He's enough experience to cope with it. Look, it's one of them things that fucking happen. You just got to deal with it.
Yeah, I suppose Darius.
Go
ahead, Gally. I was going to say, looking at Dundalk tonight and this season, what do you think? Do you think just that midfielder is what they're missing from being?
Listen, I think they're missing. No, I think the team with Sean McGrovers, I think they're missing about 4 or 5 squad players, to be honest, to catch Rovers. The 2 11s together. I think Stevie's done a fantastic job. I think he'll do a better job. Listen, Dundalk's in a great position. They've got great owners. They've got, for me, the best manager in the league. I know from speaking to Stevie was always going to be a great manager, but from speaking to the Pats players, I still speak to Ian Birmingham and a couple of lads regular, and they rate him so highly. They thought so. They think so much of him, and I think with the right owners in place, the right manager in place, the best fans in the country. It takes time. It's going to take a bit of patience. I've no doubt they'll get back to the top, but I do think they're 4 or 5 players short. But the problem is, they're looking for players. So is Drogheda United. Yeah. So is Bowes. I spoke to Keith Long. We played them in pre-season. And he said, Darius, I have money. I can't get them. They can't. You take a player out of... Remember we got Michael Hector with Fozzie. We got Michael, say, out of Red 23s or 21s, whatever it was at the time. Them players now in them academies are on 6 and 7 grand a week. So to pay half the wages, or you're not going to pay $2 grand for an unknown, or $1 even for an unknown young fella that you're not really sure of. So it's difficult. The pool of players in Ireland has got smaller. Rovers have a lot of the best players signed up. They used to be spread a bit more. The Derry lads have gone back to Derry. So the pool of players has got smaller, and it's difficult to find the right players. But I think given time, Stevie, Andy, the boys behind the scenes at the club, I've no doubt it'll be a success. And if they qualify for Europe this year, I think it's a brilliant season. It's easy when you're second, you get bogged down and, look what Chase Rovers. You never know. No, Rovers are too strong. They're too big a squad. And at the minute, and I think they just lower the expectations, qualify for Europe. Then next year, you know what? You can push Rovers all the way.
Yeah, and I suppose, Darius, you were talking there about Ryan O'Kane a few minutes ago. Do you think now is a good time? And I think every podcast has probably talked about it with Brexit and that, but, having your involvement with Drogheda at the underage level, you're in with Pats. I know you worked with the first team and you've done some work with the underage level as well. Do you think this is a good time for Dundalk to actually invest in the youth players? Now, as Gally says, we probably haven't had a lot of young players since Tiernan Mulvena that have come through and consistently and stayed within the league. You'd hope with Ryan O'Kane, you've got a player there. Do you think there's an opportunity now to start blooding players from the academy into the first team, which Stevie seems to be doing? He's gave 3 players a chance this season.
But they have to be good enough, Dean. Yeah. You can talk about blooding players and bring the young players through, and people talk about it. And I know we've done it, and I was with Pats for 5 years, and we've done it consistently. But you know what? We're the best under-19 teams in the country, ourselves and Bowes, for years. And you look at the 2 force teams. You look at the pitch tonight, even Darragh Markey came through the Pats Academy. Luke Heaney came through the Pats Academy. You Nugent, that Rovers seem to be following suit as well. Tiernan has a great under-19 team together this year. And you could see 2 or 3 of them. They could be the best under-19 team in the country. So it's hard. It's down to, with Pats and Bowes, it's, it's getting the best young players into the system early. So there always has been top players in Dundalk. It's great. What age is Ryan O'Kane, as a matter of interest?
I think he's only 18, isn't he? 18,
18,
You
19.
see, like if you're good enough to be in that Dundalk squad and getting on the bench every week at 18, 19, there's a strong possibility you're good enough to play in England.
Yeah.
We Jamie McGrath, I was a patch when Jamie broke through. Same thing, they're only kids. It takes time, and we've had, who else did we got? We've had a lot of players that come through. With the keeper as well. What was his? Conor O'Malley went to Peterborough. I had Luke McNally at Pats. Under 19s, and again, Harry Kenny actually came in and I was managing the 19s. And Harry said they were going to sign someone else from the 19s, and I said, Harry, sign McNally. He said, Harry's not ready to play on my team. I said, I know he's not. He's only 19, and this is the other issue. I said, but I'll tell you what, Harry, he will be in a year or two. I said, sign him and loan him out. And Harry, in fairness, took the advice. He signed him. He loaned him out to Drogheda. Then he went back to Pats, played in the first team, but he needed that year with Drogheda.
Yeah.
And Harry had not signed him. Maybe he would have went to first division. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he would have went to Leinster Senior League. But he got that year in the first division, which a lot of the players at under 19 do. They're not ready for playing first team. This is what I'm saying about young O'Kane. If he's good enough to be around that squad, he's a big future ahead of him at that age. 18, 19 is very young. So you need to be attracting the best players. And like, look at McNally's gone. He went to Oxford then from Pats. He's gone to Burnley for 1.4 million. What if Harry didn't sign him and loan him out to Drogheda? Where would he be? Does a 2 or 3 year? That's why the under 23s in England. Does a 2 or 3 year kind of period over here? The players either you're really exceptional to go into a first team squad like young O'Kane, or you're not good enough. And you look at the Drogheda team last year: Brown, Doyle, Kane, all these players. Brown's in the Blackburn team. Couldn't get a game with Shells a few years ago. Had to go down to the first division with Drogheda. Got 3 years in the first division. Made him the player he is. So it's difficult. It's not like saying blood the influence. It's very difficult with the age group they finish at. And your recruitment, you've got to get the best young players around. But listen, the boys in the dog, Derek Boyle, Tiernan, Bonesy was around the academy for years. The people you have there, they'll be getting the best player in the dog will have every opportunity with lads there. And that's, you want to see locals playing. That's what you want.
I suppose it's a combination then of them getting the chance, and then I suppose, like you say, anybody can be given the chance, but you've got to grasp it as well, haven't you? Like you're talking like Luke McNally there. I mean, he's come out of nowhere. Now, obviously not for yourself, you've known about him for years, but over the last 12 months, he's probably come out of nowhere. And, he's got his move to Burnley, due to another Irishman moving on, possibly Nathan Collins as well. But they have to grasp it as well, don't they, Darius? It's got to be like we've seen so many not grasp it.
Oh, there's a lot of components. Luke was a quiet young fella, loved his football, mentally very strong. He was a good player. He was a good player at 16, 17. He was a good player at 17. At 18, he went on a level. But the right mentality and attitude for it. And they're 2 key words. You've got to have the mentality and the attitude. So you've got to be able to go out like young O'Kane tonight with his mentality. Impressed me. He went on, not afraid to take people on, go by people. Once if his attitude's right off the pitch and he's putting the work in, he'll have a big career out of him. And they're the 3 key components: ability, attitude, and mentality. You got to have all 3, or you won't make it.
Yeah. I suppose, Darius, look, we'll not dwell on tonight's game, because I don't know if we seem to be losing viewers every time we bring up the result tonight. But we look back on your career at Dundalk, and I know me and you had a phone call. What was it, about two months ago, or whatever? And you were talking about how much you enjoyed that time. And our old boss, our gaffer, had a big week, didn't he? Did you ever, just for people that don't know, Ian Foster's the manager of the English under-19s who won the European Cup this week. Did you ever feel like Fozzie was going to go on to those kind of heights, Darius, when you were here?
Yeah, he had a great way about him, Ian. He was brilliant. He's still in touch. I'm delighted for him, by the way, because he's a great fella, and he the makings of a great manager. Yeah, I always felt he the makings of a great manager. He's great with people. He had a great way. I tell this story regular. Remember Benno? So we had a great team that year, and Dean Bennett was injured at the end of the year, and he'd come in. He'd come in every Thursday. And Fozzie's only a young manager too. He's only 26 at the time. And Ben would come in. We were just getting 11 on the pitch because we had so many injuries. And Ben would come in every Tuesday. He'd say to Gaffer, And Ian Fozzie just said, "Yeah, Benno." He said, "I won't be able to play this week. My leg's gone. I'm gone." And Ian would just ignore him and look at the wall. So Benno wouldn't train for the weekend. We'd be in there, and Fozzie said, "Bring your gear, Benno, bring your gear." And he named the team, and Benno would be in the team every week. And he'd just say, "Get an injection off the dock." But I always felt managing he was going to be brilliant. But he went after he left Dundalk, he went back. He spent time with Brendan Rodgers. He's got contacts in England. Spent time with different managers, upskilled himself, and I'm absolutely over the moon for him. It's great. It's great to see.
Yeah, and it's great to see that. I know he had a short stint at Galway, but it all began at Dundalk, didn't it? That was really where he cut his teeth, and as you say, it was amazing to watch him make you do all the work. So really, this under-19 victory is all down to you, isn't it?
You're probably right. We need to record this and send it to him. No, it's great for him. I think if we hadn't got the injuries that we had that year, we could have qualified for Europe and had a big year. And who knows what would have happened, And he loved it in the Dundalk. He still does, And he asks regular. I speak to him. We'd be texting regular, and I text him, before over the European Championships last week, and he always asks if he'd be talking to the Dean and lads, and I have to get over, and he's going to try and get over. He's just so busy, but it could have been so different. I think had we not been had so many injuries.
Yeah, I think I remember Michael Hector was finally hitting form, and then he got the bad injury, didn't he? And to be fair, we replaced him with Carl McHugh, who done well, but then Carl got injured as well towards the end of the season.
You look at the players we had: Carl McHugh, Colin Hawkins, Michael Hector, Simon Madden, Ross Gaynor, Benno, Greg Bulger, Jason Bourne, Mark Quigley, Daniel Kierans. What a team, but we just after that we done young lads as well. Mark Griffin come onto the scene that year too. So look,
they're actually replaying Griff's goal before the game. It was coming up on 10 years of that match. Was that right?
That was that game. That was when I was managing. I got goal of the season, but I'll never forget that. We were winning 2-1 in that game. Do you remember that game, Dan? We were winning 2-0 actually. We should have been 5 up at half time. They were second in the league, and then he got to 2-1, and we no subs to bring on, and JJ Mulligan as well, Stephen Carney's up there. But yeah, we no subs to bring on really, and they got 1-2-1, and then they scored late on, and they got 2 late goals. Was it? They beat us 3-2, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. So there was so many games that season, wasn't there, like that? And moving on, obviously, because as I say, I think it was either this week or last week. It was 10 years almost to the day of when you took charge. After the late Sean McCaffrey had left the role as manager, and we touched on it the last time, but I suppose because it's 10 years now, like how important was it for you to be the man to steady the ship at that time, Darius? Because I know, even as a Drogheda man, it's probably not easy to say how passionate you are about Dundalk, but it's clear from having these conversations you loved your time there. So, so how important was it for you to be the man to kind of steady the ship during that time?
Look, it was a difficult time, as you know. We to let a lot of players go, and the club was a mess. It was about probably club survival rather than staying up, I think, initially. We drew a Rovers. Stephen was managing Rovers, and we drew 1-1 with them. And then we went to the board meeting. Jerry was like, they were going to close the doors. They couldn't keep it going. And then it was actually my suggestion, because it was my job. You know what I mean? I had no job either. And I said, look, what about if you let players go? And he said, you can't do that. I said, well, you offer them 2 weeks' wages, because if you close the doors at the end of the week, they're going to get nothing anyway. So we got 7 or 8 players off, and we signed players on amateur, and it was about survival, but it was difficult, because then my name was going to be attached to Dundalk being relegated, because I genuinely thought we weren't good enough to stay up. But then as you go on and you get in, you got a couple of results. We took a hammering up at Rovers because you're missing 4 or 5 players, which we couldn't afford to. And look, we grounded out a lot of staff work behind the scenes, including yourself, Dean, to save our club, the lads, the work they put in. And you see that togetherness around the Dundalk, and that's why it was such a strong affiliation. The way people got behind and everyone stuck together. And it wasn't me or you, or it was an everyone together scenario. But I'll tell you, it was the toughest 4 months of my life. I don't think I slept for 10 hours a week at times, because it meant that much to me not to go down. And I was thinking of mad stuff. And remember, I had the boys down the boxing club, and just to get them out of Oriel Park to change the scenery. And, Stephen Maher done a motivational. We got him a motivational video before the playoff, and Mars he got sent off at half time, and he says to me down years later, "That was you." I said, "You kicked out with your man. You had me wound up to bits with the motivational video." But like this was the stuff we had to try and get an edge at every little thing. People are look at it was well documented. Then the boys came in September, so the financial end of it, people were paid as such what had to be paid, and it was just great to stay up. But it was a tough few months for us all, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think it was at the end of June when Sean had left. I think it was that last week of June, and you came in, and a month before that, I was let go as well, but I stayed involved. You couldn't get rid of me. I was like somebody.
Yeah, but we weren't letting you go. But you were too valuable to us, and you weren't getting paid, and it was tough on you, and you were still driving over and back. Like, and things like that, people don't see. You've your own life and bills to pay, and the pressure. And Noel Walsh was the same. Martin Connolly, I think, was assistant manager and doing 10 other things. So, like, it was really hard for everyone involved. And people forget that sometimes. You're looking at clubs and players. You let players go or players. It's the livelihood as well. It's the livelihood, it's the life, it's the mentality. So probably as use of roles, use fairness with the head of the game stuff, it's brilliant and it's great that there is awareness of it now. But in them days, it wasn't. It was get on with your job, you idiot.
No, yeah. Well, that's it. I think that around that time was the first time me and you ever had an argument. I don't know if you ever remember. I walked out in the pitch to talk to one of the players, and you let a roar at me. But I think it was more just the situation that we were in at the time. It was like a kettle ready to spill over, wasn't it, at the time?
Of course, it was. But we were trying to keep ourselves right because you don't want that to affect the players. But look, we gathered them together in the end, and we've done it.
Yeah, but I think, as you said, probably the best thing to come out of 2012, and I'm sure you'll agree with it, is that togetherness during that 4 months. I mean, as you say, like during this time of year, and I seen it on Twitter this week, people will give the likes of myself and yourself plaudits, for what we done during that period. And it was never about that. It was never about me or you. It was about building that togetherness among Dundalk supporters. And it's been actually great to see in the years after that togetherness stayed, and it actually got bigger as the club got more successful. And even during the down period last year, everybody got together again, and helped orchestrate the sale of a football club, which what other club in Ireland or in the world is going to do that, but only Dundalk Football Club. And it's just, as I say, it's amazing to see that, as you said earlier, I don't think there's a club in the country like it, and I don't think there's a support in the country like Dundalk. And if the likes of ourselves and what we done at that time played some small role in that, then that's something that I know I'm proud of, and I'm sure you are as well.
Which it is, and Dundalk is football club is the fans, and that's the backbone of the club. But I remember, like, even that year we played Bray in the last game before the playoff. We were heading for the playoff. No, it was a big game for me because we needed to win a game to get momentum for me to get into a playoff. But I think there was something like 12 or 1300 at the game, which I couldn't believe. At the time, you wouldn't have got that in half the Premier Division grounds in the country. Now, thank God, you see tonight, it's brilliant. But and I was saying to myself, why did they come tonight? We play off at home on Wednesday to Waterford, and it just did. I remember Tommy Mack coming up to me, right, son, what do we have to do to keep this thing alive? We're the dog. We don't go down. We don't bow down. What do we have to do? Tommy then got involved with yourselves. Like, that's just brilliant. Just what it means and that's why the Dog Football Club will always, be successful, because of the fans and the fan base behind them, and the togetherness, how they stick together.
Yeah, and just talking about the playoff down in Waterford, I mean, that has to go down as one of the best nights of your career, is it? Because that was just, I mean, in terms of the support that was down there, like, I think Dundalk probably brought close to 2,000 people down. I remember we had buses. I think we had 10 buses left Orhill Park to go down there that day, on top of other buses that were running. And that, I'm sure that moment at the end of the game, and there's a very famous picture of Maxie holding you up outside the stand. But that has to be, I'd say, one of the proudest moments of your career, is it?
Yeah, it is, without a shadow of a doubt. And it's a difficult thing to do in very difficult circumstances, but I'll never forget the relief at the final whistle of just, we did it. I'd say it was better than winning an FAI Cup, to be honest with you, because under pressure in a cup final, you've done great to get there. The pressure we were under to keep the club alive, and I'll never forget. And I think people forget we went down there minus two of our best players, Derek Foran and John Mountney, didn't play. They were both injured. you know, you had Paul Whelan actually centre
And then
half.
the Barnesy get injured then. And
yeah, I think someone we could have been missing 3 of our best players, you know. And,
I think Barnesy started and got injured in the first few minutes. I think.
Yeah, something like that. And but look, Rafter came good, Griffin, and we were full value for the win down there too. And bearing in mind they're the young Sean Bauer in the team too.
That's right. Yeah. God, you forget that actually.
Yeah, they were decent, you know.
Yeah, well, I look at when I saw the time of year it was, and the fact that it's the 10-year anniversary of around this time, I didn't want to let it pass without getting you on, Darius, and giving you the
and I'll get up.
kudos,
I was talking to James Rogers today, rang me during the week today. I didn't realise it was 10 years. I forgot. So now I'll have to definitely get up to Oriel Park soon, and I love coming back up there anyway to watch games. So hopefully we'll get up to see a game soon.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant, Darius. Gally, have you got anything to ask him before I let him go? Because he hasn't said that bad about me yet, so I want to get more.
Gally, no, by the way, I see him think he's a beautiful baby tonight. He sent me a picture. Definitely not his. It's a beautiful child.
We'll snip that. That'll be the advertising for tonight's podcast. Just we snip that.
No, she's beautiful. God bless her, Dean, and congratulations again.
I was just going to ask you on Drogheda themselves. I know obviously we're the Dundalk podcast, but like Kevin Doherty and the lads, how do you think they're getting on? Like I'll be holding my hand up. I wrote them off at the start of the season next to UCD. I didn't think they'd have any kind of results going for them, but they had to play some good football.
To be honest, Gally, I always thought UCD and Finn Harps would go down this year. I thought Finn Harps lost a lot of players last year, didn't replace them. UCD, I watched them early on the year against Drogheda, and they were poor for me. I thought Drogheda enough to stay up, and I think the boys have overachieved. But they've gone out and they've got players. Nugent is on loan. Nugent on loan from Rovers. Dean Williams, Clark. I think Clark was there. Luke Heaney. They've the core of young players, but I think the boys have done a great job. I think they'll be looking at Shelbourne now. I think tonight's result, Finn Harps, it's too big an ask, even for Ollie, and well he does with it. But I think the boys have done a great job. But next year, I think it's going to be a different division. Cork are going to come up with money or Galway, but both with financial backing. I think both of them will come up either or through the playoff, and it's going to be a different league next year. And I think they're going to have to give Kevin Dara more money and a bigger budget.
Yeah, it's something you probably don't. I didn't even think of next year. The teams coming up, I think Galway, in particular for me, are going to be, if they get up, and they probably will. They could be, if they hang on to what they have and the staff that they have, I think they could be a real. I don't think they'll be fighting relegation when they do come up. But it could be an issue for Drogheda. Like you say, a bit of money, a bit of injection there could help the lads next season. All right.
Yeah, you see, like the crowds at games are fantastic. I remember Drogheda winning the league back in 2006-7, was it? All right. Anyway. Them crowds went at the games, it's great to see there's so many young kids getting the games as well. So it's great. I think that's across the board in the league. So look at it. Hopefully there's money there and the town get behind them. And the Loud derbies are great. Like that, the atmosphere tonight is unbelievable. Up there in the gantry and you're looking at the flares going off both sets of fans. It's great. And you want both teams in the Premier Division.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, look, Darius, we've taken up enough of your time. Thanks for finally getting the microphone working.
Oh, well, I'll talk to we got this tactical issue for next time.
Emily just texted me and asked, does she want me to come, or does she want to come back here and give you a piece of her mind for She says, we're going to do a DNA test live on air next time.
Tell Emily I'm only messing. She's beautiful like her mum and her dad.
Cheers, Darius.
Oh, well, guys, great to talk to you. Pleasure as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Darius. It's brilliant. Fair play to Darius.
I forgot. I was more taken out the Mark Griffin goal. I forgot that all what happened, and you forget the players who were released that year as well. And little things, Look, we've no right to be giving out a bit of defeat, have we? Of course we have.
No, yeah, but I suppose looking back on that time, I think we were probably blessed when Darius got rid of certain people. We were blessed that, as horrible as it is to say in League of Ireland terms, we were blessed that Monaghan United went out of business because we ended up, I think we picked up Marzi and we picked up Paul Whelan at the time to shore up the back line, and then we got a little bit of quality in midfield because if you remember that season, I think we had Stevie Mack, and as far as I remember, I think it was Rob Waters, young lad from Cork, and he was just coming up on the weekends. He was coming up to play. He used to come up on a tour in college during the week. So he'd come up on a Thursday before match day, and he'd play like some. It was just it was a crazy time, to to be involved with Dundalk. And as I say, I didn't want to let the 10-year anniversary pass without getting Darius on, because I think for all the success that we've had in the years since, I think Darius played a key role in that, in mastermind and keeping us up. Because, you know, and this is no disrespect to Sean, I think it was more the hand that he was dealt by the previous owners or whatever. I just think we were in free fall, and Darius, to be fair, came in and he steadied the ship and got in some people that he trusted. So I just wanted to make sure that we marked that anniversary with giving Darius the plaudits he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. Just I see Frank, I think somebody else might have mentioned as well. Going by Dan McDonald now on Nathan Shepherd, he's got a shoulder injury and he's gone to the hospital. So that's Nathan Shepherd. So I didn't see the tackle myself. I don't really know what way it went, but we could be looking at maybe, if it's a bad injury, we could be looking at maybe a change in goalkeepers over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully not, touch wood. But there's no latest update, but that's what Dan McDonald has in Europe.
Yeah, hopefully that's not nothing too serious, because he's been like played very well, and unlike last year, you know, you'd be satisfied that you have a decent keeper and Peter Cherry underneath him, but you'd be a little bit worried Cherry hasn't played at all this season, you know. So how rusty is he going to be? But
that's it. Yeah.
Hopefully the Shepherd going to hospital is just as a precaution, and see how serious it is.
Hopefully I didn't even. It was only when I seen the tweet. I actually seen it before he came up, but there seems to be a bit of concern over. But look, hopefully, as somebody said, the hospital's not too far off the straw. It's only around the corner. You can walk over.
No, that's it exactly. But
yeah,
look, sorry, go ahead, Gally.
Go on. We doing our description of.
Oh yeah. We'll try to talk about something for the next 5 minutes. If anybody else wants to get in and get their descriptions of tonight's match to be in with a chance to win a pizza, you've got a 2-minute warning to get your comments into us as soon as possible. So let us know. And I suppose, Gally, you know, kind of going off the topic of Dundalk here, there was obviously the big news today was Danny Mandreu was signed for Lincoln for 30 grand. And we've kind of been talking about it in the group chat, and I think it's just worth talking about it tonight. You know, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy that money, like, he went for that little.
It's disgusting. Like, it's madness. I mean, we used to talk about, you know, we thought how many players have left in Dundalk over the last couple of seasons for nothing. You know, you've the Boyles, the Hoggans, the McMillans, the Towles. Richie Towle left to go to Brighton. You know, championship team at the time. I think the only player we got money for really over the last couple of years. I think there was a bit of money for Val and maybe Dylan Condy. If Dylan Condy went for 30,000 or something like that, was it something around that kind of figure? It's obviously was worked into his contract. Is what I was reading during the week, which is crazy. I mean, like, you know, for him to go to Bows for Rovers, there should have been 30 grand, and if you're buying it, you know. But yeah, like it's why lower league clubs in England and the SPL clubs come looking, because even if you have to pay the fees are they're nothing. I mean, they're a couple of weeks' wages to one or two of the players. And to pick up a player like that, you know, arguably, yeah, I mean, you're probably talking next to Mac and Lenny over the last couple of years, maybe the best in that position at the minute. But for 30 grand, Lincoln, like, they're not hiding to nothing with him. Like, what's 30,000 to a League One team? You know, it's pittance. It really is. And like, if he gets a run at it, it can only go up in value. I mean, you've seen Jamie McGrath over the last couple of years been subjects of, you know, 1 million, 2 million bids from different clubs and reported bids or whatever. But again, gone for nothing. You know, St Mirren have worked wonders with him over there, coming from Kenny's team here. It's crazy. I mean, we've seen MK Dons have snapped up. Yeah, his name escapes me now, Pats. But, you know, and even Darius mentioned James Brown went across from Drogheda last year. You know, fantastic players going across the water for absolutely nothing. But you nearly rather he went for nothing than put a 30 grand fee on him, because 30 grand is just nothing in football terms, even League of Ireland.
Yeah, well, they were saying, I was listening yesterday to LOI Central, and the lads were talking on that, and they were mentioning that, you know, because of how high the wages are in the Premiership, now everything's starting to filter down. So, you know, League One is probably paying at 6-7 grand a week. So it's a more attractive option now than maybe staying where you are here was. And I mean, again, I've been gobsmacked for the last week. As soon as the news broke, when it broke initially that Mandreu was going to go for what was it, 60 grand initially is what was talked about. And I even thought that was pittance for him for a player of that quality, you know. So to see him go for 30,
considering the setup we have to allow him to that be in his contract is madness. Do you know, like it's a hunt. It's an easy picking. It's easy pickings for clubs to come over and take players for free, but to have that, why 30 grand in his clause? Like what? You know, it's obviously something maybe he wanted or his agent, whatever. But it's a blinder. They played an absolute blinder. I just seen a comment there from Gav Moore, just on Derry. I can take this one because I was nailed on sure that Derry would have this league sewn up early on. And I didn't see the game, but I heard it was a poor game the other night against Riga as well. But if they go on a bad run, like with the money they've spent, I don't know if it's out of the question that Higgins could be under pressure, would he?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that last night as well. Like, you know, in fairness to them, they got probably the worst Europa League draw they could have got in Riga. I mean, that was probably the toughest draw they could have got. But yeah, they started like, you know, they came out of the blocks, and it just seems like at the second hurdle they've kind of, you know, at the halfway point of the league they've hit a blip, and even now I think they won last week, didn't they? But they're not winning 3-4-0 like they were early in the season. They're just scraping by, and
they're not putting away teams like they should be.
No, and he's been unlucky. I think how many games this season has McElhaney played? I mean, Duffy got injured. What was it, the second game of the season? Yeah. So they've been unlucky, but again, if you're spending that kind of money, you have to be firing on all cylinders. As Darius said there, you know, we're short 4 or 5 players, but we probably have half the budget, if even that, of what they reportedly have this season. You know, I don't believe that our owners are given the same financial backing that Derry have got this year. Like Derry have got significant funding. So it seems an odd one. And then by all accounts, Owen Toll's on the move as well after Euro. I think he's going to Bolton. I heard that down in League One. So, you know, you're losing your best centre back too. So probably one of the good things is for us is if we can win our game in hand now next. Well, I think we're level on games played with Derry after tonight. But if we can win, they'll have the European hangover, you know. Or you'd hope they'll have the European hangover, especially with the injuries that they do have. So for me, I'm not as worried about Derry as maybe I am even after tonight's result, because I just don't see them. I don't know whether they're going to pick up form again. If we can get back to winning ways against Pats next week, and then we Finn Harps then the following week, you know, if we can string a couple of wins together, who knows if we can just shed a little bit of light from them. And fair play to Stephen Todd, but that's you're not going to win a pizza tonight, pal.
That is a throwback. That's a gone off pizza. That's old school Mazzoni's there when they first opened. Just on Pats next week, I think I don't want to say it's must win, but they really got to go out there and put that possession to kind of to the soul next week, haven't they? They've got to go out and say, you know, it's the same again tonight, but let's try and finish out, you know.
Yeah, I think that'll be the biggest thing, you know, when the lads do their analysis of the game. I'm sure when Skip looks at it and looks at all the opportunities they had in the box, he'll be coming up with ways to sort that out. Absolutely. I think, you know, as we said, Darius even mentioned it, some of that was unforgivable tonight. So I'm sure that he'll look at that and he'll look to rectify it for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's not a must one, but you got to get like you mentioned earlier on, the double week we had with Derry and Finn Harps, that kind of kickstarted a bit of a run, and then we've kind of hit this lull now again. But anyway, look, we give someone a free pizza, Finger, will we?
You why?
We give someone a free pizza.
Yeah, we will. I suppose tonight, and probably only because he called me a hero earlier, but I'm going to give it to Ronan Rafferty. So his description of the match is that he's starving for a free pizza. Me and Gally are a generous bunch, so we let our neighbours get points. They needed more, so come on the town. So just for that last part, come on the town, we'll give it to Ronan tonight. So congratulations, Ronan. If you ring up Tony's, tell him the town end sent you, and you can get a 15-inch pizza for yourself there, pal.
Tell Darius Kierans, mate, Pingu sent you some.
Yeah.
I think that's it, Pingu, is it?
That's it tonight.
The A-team show done, just the two of us tonight. Apologies for the sound. It's Chris would be the expert on that, so it could be just we blame Darius microphone because he's not here.
yeah, all Darius's fault. But yeah, no, thanks very much. Thanks very much to everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks to Dundalk Village for their sponsorship this season, and thanks also for Tony's Pizzeria for sponsoring the Man of the Match, and also thanks to PlayerFit for again sponsoring the quality gear from us. And I promise I'm wearing PlayerFit gear right now, and I'm not wearing anyone else. So thanks a million, folks. Thanks to Darius for coming on. And Gally, are you ready to wrap it up? I'll let you wrap it up tonight.
I'm going to go. I have to just repeat what I don't want to. Can I blind it out? We go with that one. We'll just leave it as that. Fuck frogs, no party.
Perfect.
Oh.